actually, and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Okay, so change of format. For once, I'm actually doing this in the evening. I tend to film most of my videos either sort of lunchtime or in the morning, but situations change. So I thought, as it's an evening review, let's look at one of my more sort of dramatic fragrances. A fragrance that's actually very, very special to me, one I absolutely adore. And you've probably guessed it's another one of Alessandro Gualtieri's creations. So today we're going to be looking at one of my absolute favourite fragrances of all time, and that is Orto Parisi Terroni. Quick word about the presentation. All the Orto Parisi range come in these bottles. They all have lovely caps with unique well, they're all unique, they're all completely different. This one appears to have sort of like what you could describe as maybe looks like lava, if it's been cooled. So the floor's lava. Well, certainly the top of this cap is anyway. The usual brass type sprayer and a really crazy coloured liquid. This is like a deep red, sort of resinous, heavy, thick liquid, which kind of is fairly accurate actually, because it's a thick, heavy fragrance. So Terroni came out in 2017, part of the Orto Parisi range, and it's inspired by the earth or the terroir round by Mount Vesuvius, the volcano that's obviously very famous. And this is this fragrance is like a homage to that sort of whole arena. Typical Gualtieri, as we come to expect, and as you're probably sick of me saying, there are no notes. The only real clues you've got are earthy notes, spices, and musk. So I think I'll give it a little spray, a tiny spray. As per usual, I am actually wearing it, but there you go, a very small spray. And you'll find out why it's a very small spray very soon. I think to understand this, this came out in 2017 as part of the Orto Parisi range from the Orto Parisi project by Alessandro Gualtieri. But I think to understand this properly, we need to go further back. We need to go back to 2009 when, for the Nasamoto project, Black Afghano was released. Now, when Black Afghano hit the market, there wasn't anything like it out there at all. It was unique, it was original, and it was hedonistic. I think Black Afghano was supposed to indicate bliss. Obviously the note of hashish, not smoking weed or not the smell of weed, but the real rich note of hashish, that sort of thick, resinous, black-like substance that people smoke. So that kind of made it unique, and a lot of people sort of got quite excited because it's got hash in it. And in honest opinion of mine, Black Afghano is a wondrous, wondrous, wondrous scent. It's a lot of people's favourite fragrances of all time. The hash note is in there. It doesn't make you smell like a dope head. It doesn't make you smell like you're smoking marijuana or smoking hashish, which is a completely different thing in terms of smell, I've been told. But it does add a certain richness to Black Afghano. And also when Black Afghano came out back in 2009, it was an absolute beast. It was a real powerhouse. It was massive. It filled up rooms and people were well aware of it. And because it was so unique at the time, it gained such a cult following. Unfortunately now Black Afghano is a shadow of that. I've smelt it recently. I don't own it, and I have no need to own it now because of Terroni. So where Black Afghano sort of lacks in power and performance now, Terroni has got that in spades. This is an absolute beast. It's a monstrous, monstrous fragrance. It's really, really one of the strongest that I've owned. And it's certainly, well, it probably is the strongest that I own. And it's certainly one of the strongest fragrances in terms of projection and power and just performance in general. It's certainly one of the strongest fragrances that I've ever smelled. It's up there with Zoologist T-Rex, put it that way. And I think what's happened is where sort of, Nasamoto have reformulated quite a few of their fragrances, the Orto Parisi haven't been. They're still all kind of really pokey and really powerful. And the other thing is, this really, really, really reminds me of Black Afghano. There are so many similarities in the way the perfume performs in terms of the the accords that come out, the accords that you can pick up, the scent profile are very, very similar. The main key for me is that this has a real punchy, powerful note of almost like a smoked paprika. Now, I'm not quite sure what's giving it that. But if you were to take the hashish note away from the original Black Afghano and sort of slot that smoked paprika in, the two are very, very similar. In the dry down, they're very, very similar. They smell so alike. I find it quite uncanny. And this is good because for me personally, if you're one of those people that had Black Afghano and are sort of craving that powerful Black Afghano of old, have a look at Terroni. It does exactly the same thing as the previous version of Black Afghano does. Now, as I say, this was inspired by the earth and the smell of Vesuvius and the surrounding area. And there's a massive smoky accord that comes off this. When you spray it, it fills a room. It's an incredibly potent fragrance. I wore this quite a while ago. It was sort of early spring and it was a hot day. I just got it. I'd smelt it in store many, many times, but I hadn't bought a bottle. I finally got around to buying a bottle. And I sprayed some on my wrists and sprayed some on my neck, a little dot on my chest and some around the back of my neck. And I said to the wife, I'm just going to run around to the shop, grab a couple of cold beers, and then we were going to walk to our friends for the barbecue. So the shop is a really, really close walk to our house. So I just walked around the corner, went into the shop, bought some beers and came back. And it almost felt like I was walking into the sillage that I'd left on the way there. I mean, obviously it was just the projection coming off my chest, but it felt like I walked into a wall of sillage that I had left moments earlier. As crazy as that sounds, it's probably not true, and it's probably, it sounds kind of unbelievable, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me because this fills a room like nothing else that I've ever, apart from maybe T-Rex. T-Rex does the same sort of thing. But the sillage on this is enormous. You have to be very, very careful with the sprayer. Now I wear one on each wrist and one there, and that's it. And I'm good for 8 hours, maybe more. If you're going out for an evening, you've got no worries about Terroni not performing on you. Just this little spray here has filled up the room. And as you can see on my hand, hopefully in the light will show you, it's really thick. It's it's an extract de parfum, so it's high oil concentration. It lasts and lasts and lasts. It's an amazing fragrance, and I really, really strongly recommend that you try it, or certainly get a sample of it, because as I've said, every time I seem to make a video, I'll always say it's polarising, it's not going to appeal to everyone. And it's not, there's no other way of saying it. If you like Black Afghano, you'll love it. Now, when I was doing some research on it, as you do, a couple of people kind of mentioned that there's almost hints of Amouage's Interlude Man coming in here. And at some points within this fragrance's lifespan, you do feel like almost like Black Afghano and Interlude Man have been blended. It's almost like a love child in some respects. Honestly, truthfully, hand on heart, I much prefer this to Black Afghano in its current formulation. And it's easily as good as the original Black Afghano, and I much, much prefer this to Interlude Man. Interlude Man is an amazing piece of perfumery. It needs, no real introduction, but to me, and I've worn it many, many times, I find it it's just hard work to wear, I think, Interlude Man, because it's very linear. It doesn't really do anything. Whereas with Black Afghano, it does. It starts off loud and smoky and fiery and this like paprika-y note. And then it warms down. You get almost a sensation of roasted nuts or sweet caramel chopped nuts being fried off. That kind of accord comes through and it's lovely. And then as it dries down, it gets softer, it gets sweeter, it gets almost nuttier. There's always a resinous feel to it. It's just, it's delightful. But every stage of Terroni is certainly interesting to me and certainly enjoyable to me. I absolutely adore it. Whereas when I wear Interlude Man, I find it really good for the first couple of hours, but it's bloody relentless. It doesn't stop. It does the same thing for its entire journey, and I find that just difficult. I have to, where and when do I wear Interlude Man? That's a really good question, because I've not really found a perfect environment for it yet. And, I've worn it quite a few times. I've still got 10ml decant of it somewhere. And I've got a clone of it actually, which is pretty good as well. But I don't know. Interlude Man needs a lot of applause, respect to Amouage for making something so amazing. I just find it really hard to wear. If you're in the same camp as me in that respect, and you find Interlude Man just a bit too much, have a look at Terroni, because in terms of performance, I put it next to Interlude Man all day long. They do exactly the same thing in terms of projection and lifespan. But this is no way as linear, and this is certainly a lot more interesting. As I say, this takes you on a really wonderful journey. Not for the faint of heart, but absolutely brilliant fragrance. Thoroughly and highly recommend this. So with that in mind, I sort of urge you to sample it, to go into a store, to try and smell it, get your nose on it, and enjoy it as much as I do. So what I'll do now is I'll raise my glass. I'm going to take a glug of wine. And so thank you very much for coming back and watching this, and cheers, Alessandro Gualtieri. Good luck with the rest of the Orto Parisi range. I'm hoping to review them all one after the other. Got a few more to do. I thoroughly enjoy them. Really highly recommend it. So thanks very much for your time. See you next time.